Hi, everybody, and welcome to our very first online training for our India summer trip. I am just so excited to have each of you guys on this trip with me, and it's going to be an amazing journey. When I say let the journey begin, I mean that as in it's beginning right now, and it will continue all the way through our trip and the journey. I know that you will agree with me afterwards continues even after you get home, because after a trip like this you really will never be the same again. Here is me. I'm your team leader. um, I told you guys a little bit about myself in an email, but I'll go ahead and tell you again. I live in the Hillsboro, Oregon area, which is just outside of Portland, and I've been leading teams internationally since 2002. This will be my 12th trip into India, and India is really where my heart lays. The children there and the ministries there really have a piece of my heart, and every time I can get back is just a really this time for me. I am the mom of three girls. These are not my three girls. These are three adorable little friends I have in Guatemala. My girls, I have a high schooler, a sophomore, who is my actress and artist. I have a sixth grader, and that's my gymnast. She competes in gymnastics. And then I have my second grader, and she is our little firecracker of the family. She keeps me feeling young. Um, we adopted her from China when she was 14 months old, and has just been the princess of our house ever since. My husband works for our local church as a worship pastor, and yeah, loves to write music and his time in front of a keyboard doing all kinds of fun things to write different types of music. So that's me and my life a little bit, and some of the different. This is a picture of the world, and I just show you this so that we can all kind of get our bearings of where we're at, where we're headed. If you look over on the left hand side, you'll see the United States. And then if you look over on the right hand side of the globe, you'll see Russia, and below that China. And just to the east of that, you'll see India there. And if you were to look at this on an actual globe, and you found the United States and then you found India, you'll see that we literally are traveling halfway across the world to go and see the children of Rangan Sabra. So here is India, a close-up of India. And if you look up towards the north, you'll find New Delhi. Written in bold, and that is going to be our landing and departing spot for our international flights. So that is where our flights will fly in, and then when we're ready to depart India, that's where we'll fly out of. We are really blessed on this trip. We're going to actually get to spend a day or two there in Delhi, and we'll do our market shopping there. You guys will get to go out into the open air markets and spend some time looking through what the merchants there have to offer, and bring home some really neat items. And we also are going to take a day to go out and see the Taj Mahal, which is in Agra. And if you look just south of New Delhi, you'll see Agra there, Agra. And we'll take a day and we'll drive there. And I think you'll really enjoy that day. It takes us about 3 to 4 hours to drive to Agra, but it's just amazing to be able to be in the vehicle and driving through and seeing the villages and just seeing how different types of people live within India, getting out of the city and being able to just experience a little bit more of what rural India really is like. From Delhi, we will take a flight and we will fly all the way over across India. And when you're looking at this map, all of India is in orange. So if you look all the way over at the right, there's a little piece of India that's just barely attached up in the corner. And this is the area where we're headed, is way over there. And if you look all the way down to the bottom of that, to the south, you'll find Aizwal. And it's spelled Aizawl. And that is the city that we are headed. Um, Something very unique is that this part of India is surrounded by these other countries. We have China and Bhutan to the north. We have Myanmar, which is to the east and south. And then we have Bangladesh, which is on the west. And so the influences for this part of India come from those areas more than they come from the mainland part of India. So you will notice a very drastic difference in the culture between mainland India and Aizwal, where we're headed, and also some of the very common questions I get right away are passports and immunizations. And so I want to cover those immediately with you guys so you have the information you need. Everybody's passports, if you already have one, I would like you to go ahead and check your expiration date. And your passport must be valid through January 2015. And this is a regulation from the or the India consulate. This is what they require, that our passports be good for at least 6 months after our expected travel date. So if your passport will expire before then, or if you've never had a passport, or if you need to do some type of a name change on your passport, then we have some work that we need to get done fairly quickly, if possible. If you need any of those items, if you need to get a passport or renew your passport or do a name change on your passport and you would like help with that, please email me and let me know. And I will email you links to the pages that give you step-by-step instructions on how to get a passport or renew um, or do a name change, as well as it'll tell you all the documentation that you need to pull together in order to do that. It really is fairly simple. It's not too difficult. It just takes some time. Passports take between 1 to 2 months to come back. So it's something that we want to do right away so that if there is any problems, we have plenty of time to work with it. Once everybody gets their passport, we will be applying for Indian visas altogether. So we need everybody to go ahead and get your passports renewed or applied for as quickly as possible so that we can apply for our Indian visas altogether. And when that time comes, when we're ready to do that, I will send you guys out instructions on exactly what you need to send to me so that we can get those prepared for you. Another thing that people have a lot of questions is immunizations. What do I need to be immunized for before we travel? And the basic answer is the Indian government requires no special vaccinations from U.S. citizens. So in order to get into India, to be there, there's no requirements as far as the government is concerned. But the CDC does have recommendations for us for traveling into India. Um, and I will be sending you a PDF of the CDC recommendations. And when you receive that, what I recommend is that you take that list of recommendations and you talk it over with your health professional. Everybody's medical needs are different and everybody's comfort levels are different. So it's impossible for me to make recommendations for you. And I'm not a health professional either, so I wouldn't really want to make those recommendations for you. But I would, consider consider all the options that the CDC recommends and just decide what you think is best for you. I have people travel with just the basic immunizations, such as like the immunizations that they received from, polio, measles, mumps, rubella, those types of vaccinations. So I have people who travel with just that, all the way up to people who get everything that the CDC recommends. So I have a vast variety on my teams, and it's really up to you. Hepatitis B is one that I do want to kind of point out to you, though. There is a child at the home that does have hepatitis B. They're receiving treatments. They started treatments in December. And so that might be something you might want to talk to your doctor about. Let them know that there is a child there, that they started treatments in December, and how much of a risk is that if you have not received your hepatitis B. Optional immunizations would be things like chickenpox vaccine. Um, the children there don't receive those types of vaccinations, and it's likely that a child could have chickenpox while we're there. So if you've never had it, you never had the vaccination, it might be something that you might consider. And the other optional immunization, which actually is already on the CDC recommendation, would be malaria. Um, and that is for mosquitoes. Malaria is a very serious condition, and it varies in low risk to high risk depending on where you travel in the world. And Iswell is a low to moderate risk area. Depending on the time of year, the mosquitoes are um, worse or better. So it's just something you can talk over with your doctor and decide if where your risk comfort is. Why do we go? There are many, 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 many reasons why we go on a trip like this. If you look through the Bible, God talks so much about justice. And in Deuteronomy 16:20, he says, "Justice and only justice you shall follow." Um, God desires for us to seek justice for those who can't seek it for themselves. And if you really start seeking out in the Bible how often God is telling us that it is our job to seek out justice for those, it's overwhelming. There are hundreds and hundreds of scriptures that talk about it. In James 1:27, God talks about that pure and undefiled religion is caring for orphans and widows in their distress. God has a heart for orphans and a heart for widows, and He says, "Care for them. These are mine, and I expect you to care for them and love them in times of their affliction." Matthew 28:19 says, "Go and make disciples of all nations." These three scriptures are just a sampling of what God is calling us to do. But it's very clear that He says, seek justice, take care of the orphans, and make disciples. And if we look outside of the Bible and just look at what the needs are in our world, there's some statistics here for you that 80% live on less than $10 a day, and 50% live on less than $2.50. There's 163 million orphans. That is I can't even wrap my head around 163 million orphans. In India alone, there are 10 million children and women who are sex trafficked. And every 5 seconds, a child dies of hunger. These children, these 25 precious children at the Gonsalver Children's Home, are these statistics. They're orphans. They have been at risk at being sex trafficked. They have been hungry. And I'm not talking about they missed lunch. These children have lived on the streets and had to figure out how to eat on a daily basis and gone days without food. Their families that they used to live with lived on less than $2.50 a day. they are these statistics, and that's the reason why we go. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit more about when we're in India, and I do want to apologize for the recordings cutting out a little soon on the ends of the slides. I'm going to try to relieve that here in the future. But we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about India, and we're going to start with our flights. When we're in India, we will take many different flights just to get from our hometown, wherever we're starting, whether we be in New Mexico or Reno or Seattle or Portland. No matter where we're starting, we're going to take a lot of different flights just to get over to Iswell. Our first journey will be to get from our hometown to Delhi, and most likely we will all fly into the country together. If for some reason we do have to go into two separate flights, I will make sure that I'm on one flight and somebody who has traveled with me many times will be on the other flight. We have a couple of experienced India travelers on this team, and so I will make sure that each of our inbound flights has somebody on there that's been through customs and knows the airports and can get everybody safely through. And once we arrive in Delhi, if you look at the picture at the bottom, there's a picture of one of my teams at the Delhi airport. But once we arrive into Delhi, we stay the night there in the city and get up the next morning to catch our flights across to India. The India airport is very modern. It's a very nice airport, coffee shops and shopping and restaurants, massage chairs, pretty much anything that you can think of that an airport would have, the Delhi airport has. We'll leave fairly early in the morning and we will fly across India. It takes us 2 flights to get over to Iswell, and our first flight is pretty much a normal domestic flight like you would expect here in the States. It's about 2 hours long, and then we get on our last leg, which if you look at the top picture on the left hand side, it is usually a prop plane, but it's fairly good sized. I would say it's one of the larger prop planes, and that flight is only about an hour long. And when we arrive into Iswell, you can see the airport there on the right hand side. The airport there is not the airport. If you look at the picture, it doesn't look like a awfully too small airport, but it does only have 2 flights a day, so it is not very busy, and when we arrive, it's pretty easy to find the people who are looking for us because there's not that many people waiting for people to come off the plane. So that is our flights. Once we're in India, we have different ways that we travel around locally. Up on the top on the left, you see that black vehicle, and that's what we'll be in the most. Especially in Iswell, the city is built on a hill, so the roads are a lot of switchbacks, and so large vehicles do not do well in the city. So we travel around. We'll probably have 3 or 4 of these SUV style vehicles that we will all travel around in. On the right, you'll see a motorcycle there, and in Iswell, motorcycles are used a lot because people can get around really quickly and get around the traffic. And occasionally, one of our team members will be invited to ride with somebody on a motorcycle, and I let you make that decision on your own if you are over 18. And if you choose to do that, my only requirement is that you must wear a helmet. Over there, usually the driver only wears a helmet and the passengers don't. But It's not a very safe way of travel, and so as your leader, the only way that I really feel comfortable allowing one of my team members to go is if you do have a helmet on. Down below, you'll see the typical Indian rickshaw. Occasionally, we get to ride in these, especially in Delhi. You won't see very many of these in Aizawl, but in Delhi, they're everywhere. And it's just kind of a fun experience and easy way to get around. So sometimes we are blessed and be able to travel someplace in something like that. Our accommodations are very basic. The hotel we stay in Aizawl is the nicest in the area. The lobby's very nice and it has a nice little restaurant in it. But when you go up to the rooms, you'll notice that they're very basic. The room on the left there is actually quite a bit bigger than most of the rooms in Aizawl. The Aizawl rooms tend to be a little bit more cramped as far as space, which is totally fine because we don't really spend much time in our hotel. But you'll see there's two beds and a desk and a chair. And then the bathrooms, again, are very basic with a Western toilet, which we're always really excited to find. And if you notice, there's something a little bit different about their bathrooms. The shower head just kind of comes out of the wall right into the middle of the bathroom. And that is very common in India because the bucket that you see sitting below it is how most Indians take a shower. They use bucket baths. And so the shower head is really just there for the Westerners. And that's just how that's just how they set up their hotel room showers. So you kind of get used to it. You kind of figure out how to get around it and where to put your clothes to keep them dry and all of that. But um, that, yeah, so that's a picture of our accommodations. This concludes session 1 of our training, and session 2 will pick up with climate and bugs of India, and I will see you at the next training. Thank you.